takeaways from my interactions with quote-unquote Jasmine, the woman who's been here multiple times now. A, she did display herself, so she is a worker at one particular point. Yeah, she did the whole thing, for starters. She's aged since I first saw her. She was a bit younger. Now she looks like she's in her 40s or so. Leslie has a daughter. She walks around with the same dog. When I said that I had spent a decent amount of time in DC and kind of gave her a meaningful look, that seemed to scare her a little bit. You know, I didn't say it in anything but a jovial way, but she always shies from DC. Always. And she also said something about 12. You know, meaningfully. They all have a fucking number for some reason or another. I kind of wonder what the hell that shit's about.
How did you?
I don't have a number. That's the thing. I have no idea truly what they're talking about most of the time. I don't know if that's what they're guilty of, or what they're for, or what that stupid bullshit is. I'm sitting there trying to fucking take a rest and sleep, you know? And they added 2 people in to annoy me. They had this old creepy man in fucking boots, and they added her. I'm still trying to figure out like what the fuck they're about, but it's more time. It's the thing. Am I gonna be dead by the time all this is over? Or I yearn for some direct connection or contact with someone who's not garbage. You know? Someone who's not one of them. Someone who might have an idea of what the hell is going on. Someone give me some fucking answers. I deserve answers at this fucking point. I don't really want to know about their shit. I don't want to know about their dumb code. I don't want to know what the hell they fucking mean by 12 and shit like that. I would be interested in knowing how long this stupid shit lasts, though. Yeah, as far as I could tell, it was one more year to a fucking reset, you know, from early 2022, and I feel like they keep trying to push me back to differing time periods, sometimes further, sometimes closer. Furthest back I think I've ever dropped is 2008. And that would have been from something like 2019, 2020. So that's like, you know, if you say this shit ended within a year or two from 2021, and originally is when they started victimizing me, it was 2008, you know, in earnest, then you could say this whole thing lasts in what would kind of be sensible about the time, essentially, for a child to grow from an infant to an adult, or a young adult, I should, to a teenager. So the time from infancy to puberty, and that would seem to fit because they're layering people one after another in various spots. You know? And it could make sense that the reason that they started freaking like looping like this, because I never lived like this growing up. I went through 36 years of my life without, even though in 2008 essentially is the first time these pieces of shit fucked me over, you know, I didn't just keep going around in a short or long loop forever. Occasionally they looped everything back, and it started getting scary pretty quick, you know. But initially I just went home, you know. traveled again, and not knowing what the hell had happened, or at one point I traveled trying to take the cops back there, essentially. You know, and they just found ways of screwing my head up, and I made this video before. So, you know, see? It's difficult not to despair. It really is. I mean, look at me. You know? Fucking look at me. When this all started, I was a young man. And then I was home. And I was a less young man, and I didn't remember having left. And then I was a man in his 30s who lived apparently all the way to end of his fucking 30s, essentially into his 40s, without knowing the worst of this shit. Or how should I say, how prevalent it was. And people were still not nuts. She said 12, essentially, which to me almost suggests, you know, given how not so babyish she was, that maybe, just freaking maybe, you know, she was raised to know, be a little bit more mature, to see more, you know. The lower numbers, you know, just seem to be nuts. I noticed the ones that say they're like 6s, for example, tend to be fucking nuts, you know. Half the fucking time. Oh, nothing. She was nuts. Yeah, she's scared. I'm just trying to remember what Zimmerman said about her. You know, that mean that she was a worker? And the whole 2-for-1 bullshit of theirs, that's about the most I know about that. Which is often essentially people indicating they wanted something with them would like say something related to or something, and they fucking fall in somewhere, you know? I'm not sure. They were big on that. At one point, before they really told me what the fuck they were up to, they'd point out essentially that often they would like arrange 2 of something somewhere. You know, they're one of their kicks at one particular point. Well, like I said, they don't really tell a person what the hell is going on. So there's no way of really understanding what the fuck that meant. Except with adding more things. I used to think essentially that when they mentioned 2 numbers, that the individual essentially was guilty of trading something, you know. But now I'm not sure. You know what I mean? I'm really not sure because like half the people I met who like say the word 10 or whatever, they act nuts. You know? Like nuts as shit. Like they're all screwed up, and there's what fucking Tori said. And it's all like, it's like I'm trying to figure something out based off of a liar's freaking like information. My own eyes say that every single time I run into somebody who gives off that particular bit of information, essentially they're nuts, they're crazy. You know? Every time I run into somebody who like says they're like 12 or 13, they're still nuts or crazy. They're just, you know, like into fucking adults, it seems, or seemed at one particular point. Like, everybody else just fucking nuts. The question is, what kind of nuts? You know? People will say fucking 7 are straight up fucking chumos after fucking time with yourself and your kids. I've noticed. That's like my fucking dad. You know? He had that fucking number hidden in amongst his shit. You can't help but pick up on this shit. I'd be a liar if I said I didn't start picking up at least some things, you know? At least some things and at least some things. I'd be a total fucking liar, you know? You're like, oh, don't tell you, don't act like that.
They might think you know something, which means essentially you're like them.
It's like, dude, they walk around in groups of 3, essentially showing their ass. They say a number half the fucking time whenever when they fucking introduce themselves. You know? All their media contains some stupid fucking shit. They dress like faggot circus clowns. I mean, how after a while, especially when you know another important fact, that they often advertise themselves attitude-wise as to what they're fucking offering and shit based on the shit they program to weird-ass people. And they're always in the same fucking spots, essentially, half the time. Well, so are you. It's like, I'm crazy, there's difference. Okay? I'm not showing up all these places intentionally. I really am not. I went over there to sleep. Fucking through and built something in. You know? I'm going over here because I'm done sleeping. It seems a little early, I might add. Yeah, I'm going here because I'm done sleeping. I want to take a piss. Right. I want some fucking coffee. I want to figure out what the fuck I'm doing next. You know? But it's difficult not to despair, and they don't care. They really don't. I'm watching just in this moment alone, walking across this road. I have seen 3 or 4 people on the road that I recognized. That's what's fucked up. And I've only seen them once this whole time. Like, I'll recognize that bitch who drove by with that little smile on her face the next time, more than likely. But I've only seen them once. It's not like I'm seeing these people over and over again in the same time period. Some of them, like the people who work various places, alright? Some of them I see over and over again. Most of them I won't see for a decade, or half of one, or somewhere around there. You know? Like that woman who was over there, who is quote-unquote going back to New York. Which in her case probably means that she's fucking old people. Because that's what that means to them. Whoa. If I say I'm going to New York, it means that I am literally going to New York. If they say they're going to New York, it means they fuck old people. I don't know if it means they fuck old rich people, but it means they fuck old people. You know? No rich people. Trump's from New York, for example. New York's an incredibly expensive place to fucking live. You know, prostitution thrived there amongst the young because they couldn't afford to live there and they wanted to stay. You know, or because it was a dumping ground for these people after a certain point. I ain't really sure. They tell different things to each other. Common sense tells me that during the 90s, it became very difficult to live there. People were talking about $900 fucking a month rent for the cheapest dwellings, and that was cheap. Average being something like $2 fucking grand a month for a decent fucking apartment, starting out, you know, like a little apartment. And so far as I can tell, the wages didn't really match all of that. So probably by about the year 2000, 2001, when I went up there to visit at one point and tour around a little bit, my one friend, fucking cost of a fucking pack of cigarettes in fucking New Jersey was like fucking like $8 when you're like 4 here, 3 here, and a fucking pack of cigarettes in fucking goddamn downtown New York was like fucking $12. So like, you know, to give an example of inflation of the only good I really paid attention to, because his fucking like friend's parents were fucking paying for dinner and shit like that, which is what we were doing up there in the first place. He was visiting his friend, he brought me along. So, and I didn't return there apparently until I was in my fucking 30s, and I didn't spend a lot of time there. I just wandered through the fucking bus station and around the local area, essentially, you know, and then fucking went to my next destination, which is where I was headed in the first place. I spent more time in Connecticut, Long Island, Vermont, and northern Vermont, actually, and fucking, what's it called? Well, a couple of the cities in New York, but not New York City itself. You know, I did spend a little time in New York City. I walked around, but like it was always towards like past downtown. Like it was Manhattan and onward to east. You know, so I'm not incredibly familiar with the place. That's the thing. You know, or it was approaching it from the freaking south along the east coast itself. You know, close to fucking harbor and the like. There's Bingingham, which I rediscovered the other fucking day, which I ended up wandering to at one point when I was younger and traveling, and it was very easy to travel at that point. You know, if you got stuck in my situation, you know, it's like, oh, I need a place to stay right now. Sure, let's go there. I'll stay for a little bit, essentially, try to find a job, and by then they'd usually have drugged me and fucking sent me home, which pisses me the fuck off. You know, it's such a waste of time. Such an incredible waste of time. And for what? Because they convinced these young idiots, essentially, to cover themselves up. You know, to cover everything up and start working to make the world a fucking fucked up place, and now they're old. Some of them a little younger than me, most of them around my age. You know? And the ones that are younger probably never remember what it was like to be free. That's the fucking really depressing part. Is the really young ones probably don't remember what it's like to be free. You know? Well, in a word, stressful, sure. You have to carry your own fucking weight. But, you know, at least there was hope. At least the world seemed normal. You know? At least your life was your own. You didn't this ridiculous, disgusting shit, essentially, as you see. See, I just recognize them there, too. Two people sitting in that car. Example of people who may have been free at one point, but I doubt it. You know? That's why I hate these scum so fucking much. Without them, I'd know exactly how old I am right now. I wouldn't have to guess. You know?